Hello. Oh, let me fix one thing and I'll be right back. Okay. Well, hello. My name is Nadia Sheikh, and I'm the owner and creator of Drama Sauce Studios Incorporated. And one of the brand that I create and curate that is not only a personal brand, but a community driven brand for artists and creatives. It's called Cool Storytellers Collective. And so, with Cool Stories Colors Collective, I teach paper collage classes. So, with these sort of paper collage kits, these are one of the things that I offer in my community, and these are kits that I sell as well. And I teach paper collage classes. The other thing I do is because my classes are so popular and so successful, I wanted to create um, a book about how other creatives and artists can also make money teaching what they know and teaching others exactly how to do what it is they know how to do. So maybe you're an artist or a chef or like a language teacher or somebody that has these amazing skills, but you don't feel like you know how to teach a workshop or a class. Um, I teach those sort of skills in my free community called Starving Artist Fed Artist. So today I want to share with you, or tonight rather, but whenever you're watching this, um, I want to teach you 5 tips to teach workshops, even if you've never taught before. And so the first number one tip is that when you're teaching, you always want to teach for the not only the grade level, but also the age level. So if you're teaching like elementary school or middle school kids, their capacity to take instruction or to stick with something is a lot shorter than a middle schooler or a high schooler or adult. And so when you're creating when you're thinking about how you want to teach a workshop, how you want to teach a class, think about who you're teaching. What's the age range? Um, for elementary school kids, for instance, they have like 20 minutes, 40 minutes maximum that they can hold their attention span. And one of the ways that if you're teaching elementary school kids is you can break down that 20 minutes into that 40 minutes into two 20-minute sections. So you have 20 minutes to start one part of the project and 20 minutes to finish the last part of the project. So think about that when you are pitching workshops to community-based organizations, which is what I teach in my school community, Starving Artists, Fed Artists. I teach you how to do what you love and do what you know and teach it to your community and get paid for it by community-based organizations. I've taught in about like a dozen different locations around Oregon, and I've been paid quite well for it, just for 90 minutes to show up and teach a paper collage class. So it's something that anybody can do, regardless of the skill that you have. So if you don't know where that link is, I can drop it in the chat for you and I can add the invite link. But I'd love to invite you to join because I think it's something that if you're a creative and you're just really stuck, you feel stuck about how to do these sort of things, and you want a good idea of where to start, my community will be a good place to start, as well as watching these videos on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, welcome. If you're on LinkedIn, welcome. And if you are on Facebook, welcome. So And so, tip number two is you want to create a lesson plan with presentation slides. I think that's really overlooked for a lot of artists and creatives, especially if you're new to teaching, because you might feel like that's boring. Why do I want to sit here and read off of a bunch of slides? Well, there's a couple of reasons why you want to use slides. One, it gives structure. Um, it gives the students structure so that they know what to expect throughout the time. Two, it gives you something to go off of. Your presentation slides can be super, super simple or it can be super, super complex. It kind of depends on what it is that you're teaching. I know for me, when I teach collage classes, my slides are pretty brief. I break them down into smaller chunks so that students can read through them. Whether I'm teaching middle school kids or elders, I still keep it really, really simple. And presentation slides also give you authority and it gives you like something to go off of. Because in the moment you might feel tired or you might feel stressed trying to get to the next thing and you're pressed for time because you only have an hour and 90 minutes. So having presentation slides helps you stay on track and helps you to move from step one or step zero to step 10 with a lot of ease and it's like way less stressful. Let me know if that helped you at all. And I can also share that when you create your presentation slides, there's so many ways to do it. You can use Canva, which I really recommend. And I don't know if anybody knows this, but if you're an educator or a teacher or somebody that has like an education-based platform, sometimes you get Canva for free. You get the premium one for free. So you don't have to pay extra to use it. If you're teaching classes or workshops, you could just use it for free. That's one thing you could do. Another thing you could do is you could use like ChatGPT, and there's a Canva function in there. I'm using ChatGPT 5.1, but I'm quite sure even like 5.0 or 4.0 also has it. But I think the newest one is 5.1, and it also has Canva in there. And so it still is dependent on whether or not you have a premium version to use all the assets. But generally, when it comes to what ChatGPT spits out, it's pretty basic. So you don't need a lot of fancy stuff in there. Another platform you could use if you want to make them yourself, if you feel confident in doing that. I never do that because I like simple stuff. But if you ever want to make them yourself, you could use something called Affinity. It was formerly called Affinity Publisher or Affinity Designer, but now it's just called Affinity, and they partner with Canva. So a lot of photo editing, things that you can make presentation slides with, other types of assets, you could totally do it in there, and it would work all the same for you. Tip number three that I have is to have a finished example. In my paper collage class, I have finished examples that I use to demonstrate concepts. And a lot of the times you won't have enough time to demo and teach. Yes, those are two different things. When you're demonstrating like an overarching concept, like for me, paper tearing or paper cutting or mark making. Those are things that would require me to take time to demonstrate. But when I have um, a finished example, like a finished collage, I can explain what that is and then teach it to the students in the class time that we have. The way I structure my classes is that I show that demonstration, I show the example, and then the students get into the class. So having that a finished canvas, or for me anyway, a finished canvas collage allows the students to see what the end result looks like. I get to demonstrate from it and show, what we're going to be learning. And it also allows the student to get inspired and motivated to try new techniques that they probably wouldn't try. I know when I taught my paper college class at the Patricia Research Center for the Arts in Beaverton, Oregon, a lot of the students were just amazed that I could do so many amazing things that they thought were complex was actually quite simple. But the only reason I could really effectively explain those things was because I had those example collages. And I taught 4 classes, had 4 weeks, 4 classes. So every week I had some example to show. You don't need, 4, 5, 6 different examples. 3 or 4 is enough. even just one or two, if you're going to keep repeating and going back to that example and you're building up knowledge, that's perfect because you don't want to overwhelm people with too many things. I brought about 4 or 5 canvas collage panels that were done. So you don't need a whole bunch of stuff to do this. You can keep it super simple, super light. It doesn't have to be super complex. Tip number 4 is to make sure that you are encouraging to your students when you teach, and that even just being like a cheerleader or a guide is a form of teaching, especially when you're teaching adults. They are already coming into the class with pre-existing ideas of what expectations are. They're already coming in with how they think things are going to work. They're already coming in with, their own doubts, their own limiting beliefs. They're coming at a lot of stuff. So the best thing you can do as an instructor is just be encouraging. One of the ways I like to do that is to just go around the room and just talk and make conversation. I ask the student, "Oh, so what are you working on?" Or, "Oh, that's interesting. Why do you think that might work together?" Or if somebody wants to ask me and feels comfortable, I let her know, like, "Oh, okay, well, maybe you could try this." The point is to allow collaborative thinking, brainstorming, and it allows the student to feel comfortable with the creative process. As creatives and artists, a lot of the time, the creative process looks like busted. It looks messed up. It looks messy. It looks chaotic. It looks ratchet. But to give somebody that encouragement to keep going and not be afraid of what it looks like because it doesn't look like the similar result that you have, that's really encouraging for a lot of people because a lot of people just give up after the first class. They may not show up again for different reasons. But the worst thing you would want is for somebody to be like, well, I didn't feel encouraged, so I don't want to come back. That's the number one way to remove that sort of issue that you may encounter, is to encourage your students to keep going and to encourage them that the creative process is in fact a process. It's going to keep building up. I think the best example of this is like when you make bread. You have to keep kneading the dough. You have to, let it rest and do all these things to it to make it turn into like a sourdough, for instance. And so being able to have that perspective and technique with your students is very, very encouraging, very helpful. And then the last tip that I have for you to teach workshops that you've never taught before is to keep the expectations, or rather the content of your classroom, of your lesson plan, very simple and based on techniques. I teach techniques. I don't teach like a paint and sip. Like, and so I encourage anyone that's new to teaching to just focus on technique and focus on skill, not like the finish. You know what I mean? Like when I teach collage, I'm teaching you about techniques. I'm not teaching you how to make collage like me. I'm teaching you to make collage like you. But you're just going to learn techniques that I use and you can do it yourself. And so I think if you stick to the basics of whatever your skill might be, maybe it's language learning, maybe it's painting, maybe it's dance. Teach people the skills and allow it to be so small that they automatically win at the end of class. And then make it the next step is so small that it stacks on top of that other win so that they keep going and they feel like their knowledge is deeper. The only way you can really do that is by keeping it super, super, super simple and making the wins feel super easy. Because people, adults, kids, elders, we like easy wins, and it keeps us going back because we won something, and this challenge to get there was worth the win, but it can't be so challenging that we want to give up and never come back and get angry. So it's a simple balance between being super detailed and being too like, the method, the technique, and just making that super simple. And the way I like to think about that, a really good tip I can share is act like you're, even if you're teaching adults, make it something for like a fourth grader. make your whole lesson plan as simple for a fourth grader. Just keep in mind, elementary school kids only have 40-minute attention spans. So if you think about making your 90-minute class, for example, into chunks of 40-minute, of 3 40-minute chunks, then, or sorry, 4 20-minute chunks, um, then you're able to really stick with it, and you're able to I said three. I meant to say 2 40-minute chunks. Then you're able to hold the attention span longer, and those wins will be a lot easier because you're taking them through a process. Teaching is different. It's especially if you've not done it before. And I think with a lot of creatives, a lot of the hesitancy to teach workshops, even though anybody can do it, is that you think you have to have this big lesson plan, these super fancy slides, this super, amazing examples. None of that needs to happen. The real key for people wanting to come back is simplicity, wins, encouragement, and um, making the lesson plan appropriate to the audience that you're teaching. So those are some of like the biggest tips that I can like confidently share with you all, that I think you can really walk away with from this video, and that I'm just gonna bring up my slide here. Okay, great. I'm just gonna bring up, making sure the stream is running properly, and it is. Great. Okay. So those are like my 5 tips. And so I really want to like empathize that anybody can teach a workshop. It's such a simple thing to do when it comes to teaching somebody a skill that you love, a skill that you know, something that you know, if you have people in your life, and you're told, oh, you should teach somebody how to make what you make because you're just so good at it. And a lot of the time it's second nature. We don't really understand how to like break it down. And then when we try to break it down, we get caught in the perfectionism of it because we know how to make it to our standard, but we don't know how to approach it from a way that a beginner who doesn't know how to do it does it. If you think about like walking, you're an expert at walking, right? Like if you know how to walk and you're able-bodied and you can walk, you know how to walk. Try to explain how to walk to somebody that doesn't know how to walk. It's hard, right? Because you do it. It's second nature for you. But if you were to break down how to walk, put one foot in front of the other, don't lock your knees, shift your weight, move your arm. Like there's so many aspects to it. But the best way to break it down for somebody who doesn't know is to start very simple. And I hear a lot from creatives, like they don't understand do logical processes because they're more asynchronous, and they're more like branching narratives, or they don't know how to do a logical sequence. And in my school community, I teach you how to break things down in a logical way so that you can approach whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is you want to teach, in a way that's not only simple for you, but simple for the students that you're going to teach. Um, the other thing I wanted to share for tonight is I have this course. It's not really, it's like a simple course. It's called Booked by Instagram DMs, or Booked by DMs. And it's at $2 right now. And so with that, you can use Instagram DMs to reach out to community-based organizations. And if you don't know what a community-based organization is, it's like libraries, art centers, culture centers, um, senior care facilities, um, nonprofits, all types of places. So these sort of places look for workshops and they have people that teach workshops just like what you would want to teach. So teach you how to use Instagram because 98% of my contracts come from Instagram DMs. Um, and so it's a really great platform. It's a really great tool. It's free to use. I teach you how to use your Instagram profile in a way that, let's see if I can share a screen here. This is what it looks like. Oh gosh, I don't know why I didn't look this. This is what it looks like. It's this is the page. And so I teach you how to use Instagram DMs to reach out to community-based organizations, how to make your Instagram profile look super simple, how to, even if you don't have anybody like reaching out to you or you've never, taught how to curate your profile. I teach you how to send emails or Instagram DMs like a script. And I teach you how to, pardon me, and I teach you how to look up different community-based organizations on Instagram with like Google search or there are other different sort of platforms you want to use. It's $2 right now, so you can add in your payment information, and yeah, it's $2, and it increases every time somebody buys it. They'll like a dollar. So right now it's $2, so it's a good deal overall. Let's go back to this one. Oh, didn't even I didn't even share it. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's go back. So this is the page that you can go to purchase Book by DMs for $2. Currently, it's $2 right now. And so I teach you how to use Instagram DMs to reach out to community-based organizations. I'll share with you how to curate your Instagram portfolio or your profile as a portfolio so that community-based organizations know what it is that you do, and so they create what you do, so they're more interested in working with you. I teach you how to send an Instagram DM, an email as well, and I believe I have a phone script as well. And I also share with you what kind of search terms you want to use to look up organizations on Instagram or on Google. And that's currently $2. You can click buy now, and it's currently at $2 right now, and it increases every time somebody buys like a dollar. So it'll probably be $3 next time you buy it. And this little video about what it is that I've shot or what I've shared about how it works. I'm gonna move this on. Okay, not quite sure. Okay, great. That's how you do it. Fantastic. And that with the little ticket thing that's scrolling across the screen will teach you. Will take you to it so you kind of know where it is. Um, and I just want to let folks know that are in my different communities right now in school to check out what we're doing right now. Live, watch. I haven't answered any questions that anyone has about what I'm discussing and what I'm going over. Um, I'm the type of learner. that learns by asking questions, by doing. And so, if there's any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Let me just go ahead and copy link to post. It's gonna make a little announcement thingy here. It's a bit late. That's okay. Okay. And then let me go into my YouTube and we'll change that around. There we go. Okay. Great. Okay. I'm gonna take a quick break for a second and I'll come right back and then yeah. Turn Great. Okay. I am back. Um, I would love to share a little bit more about myself, about why I started this, sort of group, this sort of community, and what kind of inspired me. Like, why did I choose this name? Starving artist, fed artist. What's the purpose of this community on school? What's the purpose of me writing, like, creating these videos on my YouTube channel, Cool Storytellers Collective? Because people know me for comics, people know me for collage. They don't know me for stuff like this. Like, they know me, I'm like the girl that does like workshops and comics and the Dark Horse comics, and I have the Dark Horse comics right here that I authored and did the artwork, character designing, cover design, storyboarding, things like that. Caitlin like is the final artist and things like that. But that's what people know me for. So why did I decide to create um this school community? Why am I making these YouTube videos? And what do I, what do I hope that you all can get from it? And not even what I hope, but what I know you can get out of it. Well, I've shared this story before, but I before I started my paper collage classes, I was in a really bad spot financially. This was before I started teaching as like a substitute teacher. I was a parking enforcement officer and a home care worker before then. I was a home care worker for 3 years and a parking enforcement officer for 6 months. And during that time, I did not make a lot of money. My income was like maybe $300 a month, maybe $500 a month. So my money was really, really low. It was really low. Um, if I was lucky to get work as a home care worker, I took every opportunity I could to get work, to show up, to help my provider, which is the name that we would give in Oregon at least, the person that you take care of. And I would do my work and I'd get my little paycheck. Um, and then I was a parking enforcement officer. I got paid for that, but the job was very stressful. It was a lot of dealing with people that were angry. It was a lot of dealing with people that did not want to be, surprise, surprise, getting a ticket. Even if it was warranted for parking in front of a fire hydrant or blocking an exit, or parking on the curb or parking in a parking zone, like all the different things. And so when I left that job, due to issues related to the job itself, when I voluntarily left, I was like in a really big depression, like very big depression. I've dealt with different types of depression throughout my life, but that depression really hit me in a different way. Um, I didn't work for a little over a year. Now you can imagine that not having work for over a year really is really, it takes a toll on you mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and obviously physically. I didn't really know how I would get back into working. I knew that I needed to make money, but the issue with home care was I wasn't getting enough hours. I was getting maybe 10 hours a month. So just consider consider working 10 hours a month and how much money you have. You don't get a lot of money working 10 hours a month. And then for me anyway, I didn't want to have to rebuild relationships with my providers. To find a new provider, to learn about her, his like, different lives. Like it's like a whole thing. It's like when you're a home care worker, you deal with a lot of different things that it's like beyond the scope of the job. Like you're like a therapist, you're like, a companion, you're like a friend, you're, like a chef, like a maid, like you're doing all this work and you're getting paid less than minimum wage. I think I was getting paid 13 or $15 an hour to do a job that was like 7 hours long. So okay, math time. If I'm getting paid $15 an hour, 13, 13 times 8, I get paid $104 an hour. That's before taxes. So times 10, like 10 to 40. So if you subtract taxes, what is it, 30? I'm leaving with about 730 bucks every other month. Because again, I get 10 hours a month and I'm not getting consistent work. So I have $728 a month to my name for 3 years. I'll let you figure out how that works. It was really hard and I didn't want to go back to that again. I was like, you know what? I really don't like this job. I'm grateful that I have a job. But I know I can do so much more with my life than doing this little home care worker job, which is stressful because I'm doing so many different things. I'm in like a stranger's house. I don't know if this person, you know, is gonna hurt me or if the person has like, if you have kids or adult children or pets. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like there's no support in that job. There was nobody I could talk to when I dealt with issues. Like I had to figure it out on my own. And it was very uh stressful in that way. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, we can't go back to doing that work because not only is the pay bad, but there's no support. And so I went off to doing a different job, which is called being a parking enforcement officer. And I love cars. I love driving fast. And I love the idea of driving fast and just getting to know a route and just driving around and doing fun stuff. Like to me, that was like the ultimate job. It was like a dream job. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to drive these hybrid cars and do all this really, to me it was just like a dream kind of job. And so I did that job and I was like the first female um enforcement officer like in that team. And this was a pilot program in the beginning. So I was like the first group of the group of people that were part of that program doing that job. And so it was very interesting because there's a lot of things that they were developing, or like they're asking for feedback. There was like quotas that we had to do. It was a lot of things there. So the honeymoon phase of driving two hybrid Hyundais kind of wore off when I had to deal with people. And I'm short, okay? I am a short mixed woman. I'm 5'3". So you can imagine a short 5'3" mixed woman out here coming up to grown able-bodied men that are like 6'2" and being like, "Here's your ticket. Here's your ticket for 200 and 50 bucks. Here you go." And just it was not good. It was not a good thing. I dealt with angry comments. I dealt with men like cursing me out. I dealt with men like be like, oh, the city, blah blah blah. We shouldn't have this. I'm a business owner. I can't believe this. It's outrageous that we have to deal with this sort of thing in this city. Like the most outrageous, like the most tilted responses. A lot of the times it was warnings. It wasn't even tickets I was giving out. I was giving out warnings. And when it came to the fire hydrants or parking in a no parking zone, those were tickets. But a lot of the times it was warnings. These guys would not have it. And I'm just sitting here observing, like trying to like get through the day. Um, I was really grateful in that I had hold on, I'm trying to get my camera set. I was really grateful in that I had a really good team. The guys I worked with were very good. They I could go ask them for questions. I could ask them for like advice on what to do. I learned a lot about how to be assertive, good body language, how to not look weak, how to not be afraid. Because before that, I was a home care worker. You don't have to look assertive as a home care worker. But when you're dealing with people literally out on the streets, out on these streets, you gotta look tough because people will just take advantage of you. And I watched I don't know if everyone knows about like the TLC show Parking Wars. I watched that before I signed up for that job. And I told my boss that I was like, I watched Parking Wars and I know all about parking enforcement for Parking Wars. And so it was something that I learned on the job training. I learned how to do this job as I did it. So what was the problem? The problem was having business owners, in particular, mind you, not civilians, but business owners, threatening my life 3 days in a row. That was crazy to me. That threw me for a loop. That was probably the most terrifying experiences I've had. And I know for myself, like it takes me a lot to leave a situation, but like in your body, you're just like, I literally think I'm gonna either die or like I just don't I do not feel safe. That is exactly how I felt those 3 days in a row. And why did I stick for 3 days? Why did I leave the first day? Because I went to a different zone. I didn't think this was gonna happen like 3 times. You know, I didn't think this was gonna happen again in another zone of my route. It happened in one zone of my route, and I stayed away from that zone. It happened the second day in a different zone of my route, I stayed away from that zone. It happened the third day near the route, near the zone that I was on the second day. But I didn't think that the guy was gonna like go out of his way to like let me know how he felt some kind of way. That's so crazy. Um, and I was like, lightning doesn't strike twice in a bottle. You know what I mean? Like you can't you have to make a good call for yourself. You have to decide what it is that you want to do, and you have to uh, decide if you like your safety. I decide my safety was more important than a paycheck. And keep in mind, I'm a short 5'3" woman, and grown able-bodied men are threatening my life. And I live in a small town, so it doesn't take much to kind of figure out where I am. Again, I live in Oregon. Thankfully, I live in a city that's diverse enough, but there's not a lot of people here, so it's not gonna be too hard to put a face to a name and track someone down. You feel some kind of way. And that sounds like I'm being dramatic. Unfortunately, no. Especially during that time, there are a lot of things happening in our community around like murders and just like women, yeah, ending up dead in ditches, literally lakes and stuff like. It was really weird, and I was like, listen, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. So I was like, I'm gonna just leave, and I learned a lot from that job. Like I mentioned, assertiveness, body language. Now when I go out, people think I'm like something affiliated with like the military or something. Just my body language is just like I'm scanning the area, I'm looking around. Situational awareness. I got a whole 9 yards going for that kind of stuff because that job taught me a lot that kind of stuff. Um, and so where does my collage come into all this? During my time, I would draw. On my breaks, I would draw. On my lunch breaks, I would draw. When I was waiting to give people tickets, I would draw. When my provider let me stay eat lunch with her, I would draw and I'd talk about my ideas. I would share with her my artwork for my dramas, which is called Song of Water. I would explain to her that I started collage and I started drawing, and I would share with her that kind of stuff, and she would like get excited. I told her I had a YouTube channel, and so she would get excited for me about that. I would share with my coworkers, and I was an enforcement officer. That hey, I draw. I'm an artist, and I know that building right across the street from us is an art center. So one day I'm gonna go teach a class there. Spoiler alert, it happened, and I potentially could teach my second collage class there next year. So what I'm trying to say is art and writing were always a part of my life. It's just that these jobs took away a lot of the focus from that. And like I mentioned, we need money to live in the world, and we need money to take care of ourselves and be self-sufficient. But for me, and being neurodivergent, being a woman that's creative, being a woman in general, I don't do well in very stressful environments where I have no protection, where there's no structure, where I have to do things and like figure it out. Like there's no support. I cannot do that kind of stuff. And I did that for 3.5 years. And it took a big toll on my mental health, physical health. And so I was like, one day I was like, I like to draw. I'm gonna look up comics because I had made the comic the Climate Keepers comic. I had finished it around the time that I quit my parking enforcement job. I was like, oh, I wonder how do I teach a class? And so I looked it up on like one of the library websites, and I saw that somebody had a class. I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. And so I wrote down all 15 libraries in my county, and I called all 15 libraries. 5 of them responded. 3 of them, finalized contracts with me. But it was from that desire that I had something to offer and looked it up to see if it was a real thing that allowed me to, um, what's the word? To reach out. Um, because I was at that point, I was like I said, I didn't have a lot of money. And when I quit that job, I really had any money. And then I was like, do I go back to home care? And I went back like for a little bit of time, but then I was like, I can't do this anymore. So it was something where art was just like it was like waiting for me to connect the dots. And so that's where my first workshop came out from. And I charged $300 for that first workshop. And that was like a 3 or 4 day workshop. I would not personally recommend charging such a small amount for a 3 or 4 day workshop because it's giving $100 or less a day for 90 minutes. That's not good money. Um, but now I charge 600 plus or more per workshop, and so it's a good deal. It's a good deal now. But you have to sometimes, depending on your comfort level within yourself, your wealth, and how you feel about money. You start out at that place, and just to plug Giselle Bomay and her neuro spiritual community and school on YouTube. It's fantastic. Like her work has really transformed my understanding about wealth and my identity, and as a creative, how I can become a creative that like not only gets paid to do what I love to do, which is creative products, creative services, art, writing, voicing, dramas, but like I get to like honor my body, and my nervous system gets to feel safe. And it's like I'm really grateful for that because I used to come from the mindset that I had to work extra extra hard, and no matter how tired, no matter how sick I am, it doesn't matter. You can show up and get money. I don't do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. And that's a huge identity shift for me because I come from a background where working hard and making money, no matter how sick you are, unless you're dying in the hospital, that's the only excuse to not show up for work. And I've been in the hospital because my health got so bad multiple times, actually. Um, I didn't have time to take care of myself. I didn't have the energy. I was too busy trying to make money to pay my bills, to feel self sufficient. And like I said, I'm neurodivergent. So for me, it's like I have to copy somebody else in order to figure out how to have a good lifestyle or a good identity. And because of a lot of self work, a lot of therapy, and a lot of things like finance book, personal finance, and Giselle's method, I'm completely transformed. Instead of looking at my body as like a liability, look at my body as this obstacle I have to overcome. I can work with my body's rhythms, with my menstrual cycle, with my health. When I deal with winter, me and winter don't really get along together. I don't like the short days and the long nights. I can work with my body instead of fighting against it, and I can actually create a lifestyle where I still make 3, 4, 5 times the amount of money that I was making before, but I don't have to struggle. I don't have to get sick. I don't have to make excuses up against my health, and I don't have to be hospitalized just to just to get a little paycheck that doesn't even cover my bills or my expenses anyway. And I've also tried, make a budget, well under your expenses. And if you know that you can only lower your expenses so much when you're making $500 a month, $700 a month. You can only go so low. Like at that point, you're basically just you know scrubbing 2 pennies together, eating breadcrumbs, making that multi meal stretch. Like you can't live like that. That's not life. That's not living. That's survival mode, and your nervous system shuts down because of it. So I'm grateful that in the last from 2023 to now, my whole lifestyle has improved. There has definitely been challenges in the road to getting these workshops going, to finding clients and community-based organizations that want to pay me well, to doing more, not doing, but teaching higher levels of skill, teaching adults, teaching elders, teaching high school. Like there's still so many, there's a lot of depth to these workshops I can do. But just to know that like this is one of the things that I do with Cool Storytellers Collective has been so encouraging to me because um, I've never thought I could be self-sufficient. Now we have school, which if I didn't tell you what school is, the school community is called Starving Artists, Fed Artists, and I teach you how to teach what you know, teach what you love to people in your community and get paid by community-based organizations. And so if that's something that's of interest to you, I can leave a comment in the chat or I can use the little scroll banner thingy. Let's see here. I'll use this one. There we go. Yeah, this one. So if you're creative and you want to teach what you love in your community, you can join Starving Artists Fed Artists for a 7-day free trial. And check us out. See what you like it. See if it's something for you. Um, and by no means yet. I say yet because I'm still working. Like I said, there's levels, there's depths to this. Um, the workshops are not my main source of income. I also teach. Like I mentioned, I'm a teacher, so I'm a substitute teacher. I teach as well. I also do creative services, so like creating brochures like this, creating this comic, Dark Horse comic, Dark Horse Comics, Skins Comics, Dark Horse Comics, DGE. I also, like I said, have a school community, and I also have creative products, like I mentioned, with my audiobook dramas for adults, Song of Water. And so I have different streams of income. My goal, I'll share this. My goal for 2026 is to start charging, twice the amount for a workshop, like $1,200. That's possible or more per workshop because I could get more people in there. I could have a more stuff going on there. Maybe teaching the corporate clients or government clients or whatever. But it's like, I started with $300 and then it grew. And now I also sell the kits. I sell these kits, these cut and create paper collage kits that I sell with my workshops as well. And I'll be teaching my first online workshop this month. I'll have like 4 workshops. I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we'll have 3 or 4 workshops. No, we'll have 4 workshops this month for online for adults. It'll be super easy to join. It's like on Zoom. And so it's something super complex. It's not, it's going to be in that school community. It's going to be online. It'll be like private. And then I'll share the replays on like YouTube so people can get more interested in it and know more about it. But yeah, I think the whole point of my story is like I've been there. Like I understand how it feels to feel so confused and unsure about what direction you're going to go in. If you're neurodivergent, you just want an answer and you don't really know if that's the right answer for you. You just don't want to keep suffering and struggling because you think that's where you're supposed to go. And we learn through our like nervous system and our identities change because of that. And so if you're putting yourself in too many unsafe environments, your whole body starts to shut down. And that's not a good way to live because you get sick more often. You just can't take opportunities. You can't support yourself. You can't be self sufficient. You have to rely on others. And so, like, I understand, I've been there too. And it's something where I feel really, um, I feel really like responsible about that for myself and to share that with others because, if you're somebody like me and you rely on like family to get things done, you kind of feel like you're stuck. in a lot of ways, but you're not. But in the moment, I can feel like, well, how am I ever going to make enough money? How much money do I need to live? How much money can I earn from what I do? Is it going to be enough? Am I going to have enough money to do what I need to do? And so there's a lot of different things that go on with that. And so um, I think if you can just create for yourself, whether it's through online teaching classes or in person teaching classes, you have to start creating um, options for yourself. Because if you don't, you're always going to be like me, stuck in the job for 3 years and never going anywhere, or stuck in a really, really crappy job like parking enforcement where, it just takes one or two or three incidents and then like you're crushed because you didn't understand that like the world like will eat you up. Like, we live in an unfair world. Like nobody cares about you, right? Like I've said this before in other videos, and I don't think a lot of people like to hear that. A lot of people don't understand. We live in an unfair world. Nobody cares, but you have to care about yourself enough to let yourself win. Not just like win, like in the video, like, oh, I win, but like win in life, so you can create a lifestyle that you want. And you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, I don't know what that is for you. I would hope that for you, it is looking at what it is you like to do, what you love to do, what you know how to do, and deciding to go on Google or Instagram, for instance, and seeing if somebody else teaches a class what you're doing, and then purchasing this course that I have for $2 called Book by DMs and pitching to that organization that you want to teach a class to in your community. I'm sure they'd love to have your class. It's $2 that you can grab that from my from the link in the description here. And so I don't know what the actions that you need to take look like for you exactly, but I do know action is better than hope. I do know, based on everything I've been learning over the last 2.5 years, that your body needs to feel safe to do anything. And if you can't feel safe, nothing could happen. You could start a process, you could start to do something, you have that energy, that excitement, that fizzles out, that passion, that fizzles out real quickly. You need to have a consistent, boring routine that feels safe, that gets you the same results every single time. And the novelty of it will wear off. However, the results will be consistent. You'll keep showing up. You'll keep doing what you need to do. For example, when I reach out to organizations, I use the same pitch. I use the same links. I use the same flyer. I show them my Instagram or my YouTube, and then we go from there. Um, I don't know what your day-to-day routine would look like. I know for me, it involves getting up, getting dressed, getting my makeup on, um, doing my breath work. Um, I use a lot of what Giselle May teaches in her neuro spiritual community on school. So I do a lot of my grounding techniques, and I do a lot of um, my um, statement work, my identity work, and then I have like my altar that I use with like my different things that I feel very passionate about. I don't know what it looks like for you. But I do know that you deserve to stop being afraid of life. You deserve to stop being afraid of what life will come and throw at you, because you're way stronger. You just don't know how to feel safe to take the next step, and you don't really know what it could look like for you because you've never had experience with it. Um, but my biggest hope for you all that if you're creative, if you're an artist, come check out my community. It's called Starving Artists, Fed Artists at School. I'd love to have you in there. I'd love to see more of what it is that what kind of artist you are. And I'd love to see exactly how I can support you. I'm in there. I have like 4 other ladies in there. They're all different types of creatives. We're a small community right now, but we're always growing. And so take the opportunity to like invest in yourself this holiday season and pitch a workshop. By the way, it's winter, so a lot of the times workshops are booked 6 months in advance. So it would be spring workshops will be booked like around now. So definitely you should check out and see if it's a good fit for you. Um, I don't see any questions. Oh, Roxanne. Yeah, you're welcome. No, yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate you. It's not easy out here. But I think that these sort of stories help us to feel less alone. Um, I know that like whenever I read other stories, I talked about this before. Like bibliotherapy is why I write the solo fiction dramas, like why I write Song of Water, why I wrote Comic Keepers. Bibliotherapy is like therapy with books. Therapy with books saved my life. Like even since I was like 4 years old, I always read books. I think it's just being neurodivergent because I just want to learn how to do stuff the right way, like how to operate in the world. So, um, I like hearing other people's stories. I like hearing about other people's wins. I love watching biographies on like Netflix and um, HBO Max. Like I love watching. I just like seeing people win, and I like knowing that like I want to learn. So being able to share like a little bit about my story, I think it just reminds us all that we're not like alone in these struggles, and that even though our specificity and like how we deal with issues is different, it's still something that is important to share because then like your perspective encourages somebody else. I my YouTube. I think YouTube did the 2025 summary thing. I did a lot of self improvement videos and cooking. That apparently that's like my thing was self improvement and cooking. So yeah, these type of stories are important. And what was his name? Brian McDonald. He was a writer for Pixar, Disney, and a couple other big name organizations. He talked about how there's a golden theme in the stories, and that's like a human thing. That we tell stories to survive. We tell stories to understand how to navigate the world around us. Even if we come from different backgrounds, different cultures, the whole point of telling a story is to survive. And so that's like another reason, like, why I feel comfortable sharing about a little bit about myself. I never felt comfortable in the past, but now I do because I understand that that's it could be somebody's like survival piece. Like we don't always acknowledge the people that come into our lives and like help us take the next step, but just that's a human thing to take those pieces and make that a part of your identity. And so yeah, I'm just grateful that you were here and that you got a chance to watch like what I was doing and hear a little about my story and how you know it doesn't have to be easy in the world, but we can be easy on ourselves and choose an easier lifestyle, and we can choose can have that hope for ourselves to have an easier life. I know for myself, like I mentioned, like the way that I run my business now and how I take on contracts and how I do way less upfront work, and my lifestyle is a lot easier now. I'm still growing, I'm still learning, I'm still charging more every day, but like I just want, especially people that are, especially women that are neurodivergent, like you don't have to like be so stressed out. We're already sensitive. We're already stressed out. We're gonna be more stressed out. And we can enjoy the cool stuff that we make and the cool, we contribute to like society and everything. Um, I don't know if there's any questions. I have to check like LinkedIn and stuff because for some reason, this platform that I'm using is not allowing comments to show up from LinkedIn. So I'm gonna like double check. No, there's no comments on here. But if there are like other types of comments or if there is anything that I can answer or just yap about, I am happy uh to do so. Let me see. Okay, well, I think we're good. Um, I'm gonna see if I can bring up anything relevant for our discussion today. This video will be posted on my YouTube, and then I will like edit it down so it's not like a long. I mean, I'll be yapping, but I'll edit it down so it's like easier to digest. Um, and then this will be available like the in my school community as well, so you guys can like watch it and you can get to know a little bit more about me and everything. And like the live replays will be available on LinkedIn also. I don't know how it works on Facebook. I don't know if you can like find replays of stuff. I'm not quite sure. Let me see here. I don't know. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think it shows up on YouTube. I don't know, or Facebook. I don't know. I do know that this will be up on my YouTube. This will be in school. It'll be on all the places my videos are on. Um, Let me get some water and I will come back. And I want to see if I could share anything related to the topic. I don't think there's any videos on my YouTube that are like that resonate with this. Um, Let me see. Oh wait, maybe there is this one. Um, no, I don't know how I would share this one exactly. Share screen, share window, small, share this window. I don't know. I think I'm sharing the window. I'm not 100% sure, honestly. At any rate, I will be right back. I wanted to see this would play for you all. I'll be right back. I am back. Um, solo. Oh, unless. Okay, I stopped sharing. Great. Okay. Oh, what are the top 5 tips? Okay, I'll go over them again. No problem. Make sure I'm writing them down so I don't lose the ones that were important. Lesson plan, age. So I'll go over them again. I'll go over all 5 of them again for you. Just writing down the all 5 so I don't miss any of them because that can happen sometimes. Let me see. Mm, Oh, okay. Give me one. Okay. So the first of the 5 tips to teach a workshop, if you've never taught before, was to use a slideshow presentation. So like we call it like a PowerPoint or like a slideshow or a slide deck, whatever you call it, it's all the same thing. Using a slideshow for your lessons. The reason you do this is because it gives you something to follow. It gives you structure for yourself and for the students so that they know what to expect. Um, and I mentioned that you can create a slideshow if you don't like, you don't know how to do it. There's a couple ways that you can do it. You can use like Canva, which has templates that exist already, so you can just plug and play your lesson plan into those. You can use Chat GPT. It also uses Canva, but I believe you have to have a paid you have to pay for the higher version of it, which is like 5.1, so that you can get those lesson plans and like it can generate a slideshow for you. But I'm pretty sure any version of ChatGPT does this, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Um, and then I also mentioned that you can create a slideshow with a program called Affinity. It used to be called Affinity Designer or um, Affinity Photo, but now it's just called Affinity, and they partnered with Canva. So it's a free platform. It's freemium because you can use like a paid Canva subscription and create your like little assets and stuff like that through there. And I can drop Affinity because I used to use Affinity when it was just called Affinity. Affinity. And as far as I'm aware, Affinity doesn't have like any. It's free to use. You can download it. I don't know if they have a web version, but I use a Mac, so I just use whatever they have for the Mac. But that's what it's called, Affinity.studio, and Canva partnered with them to make it more accessible. But it used to be like 3 different things, and you used to be able to do like layouts. You used to be able to do like photo editing and like book publishing and stuff in there, but now it's just like all in one sort of thing. I just started using it this month. That version of it rather. So I don't have like a full comprehensive understanding of like, how it will all works. It's a little different than it was before. Um, the second thing, the second tip to teach workshops is to understand the age range that you're teaching. Different age ranges require different types of um, learning capacity and a way that you can break things down. I gave an example of like elementary school kids. they literally can only hold their attention for like 40 minutes, if even that, because they can really only hold it for 20 minutes. So if you're going to make a workshop that's 40 minutes long for an elementary school kid, you would have to break it down into like two 20-minute sections. So 20 minutes, we start on this part of the project, 20 minutes, we finish on this part of the project. So understanding the capacity of the age that you're teaching is really important, because when you're teaching, you don't have to worry that the students are going to be bored, or that it's too fast, or that it's too much and they're not going to finish what you started. So that's really important, because that's a big part of creating a lesson plan, is that the students that you're going to teach can keep up with you, that they feel like they have some wins going on, and that they're not bored. Because if you're going to teach a kid for 90 minutes, like elementary school kids, their capacity is not that long like an adults or high schoolers. So understanding the age range, and I in my school community, I have like a cheat sheet in there in the classroom. I think it's in week 1, where I give you like a cheat sheet from like K to 12 to adults to elders. So you can use that as like a quick guide to figure out how long you should make your workshops. So if it's like for kids, and if like little kids, elementary school, 20-minute blocks, maybe two 20-minute blocks or 40-minute class, and then you have that extra 20 minutes for like a share time and cleanup or something like that. So that's really important, and it would really help you with satisfaction from parents, from kids, from students, but also it would help you to plan. So you're not over planning and you're not under planning. You're just doing what a student, whatever the age range that you're teaching, has a capacity to do. Um, that was number 2. Slideshow. Mm, oh, okay. The next one is breaking down your lesson plans. I know for a lot of us creatives, we have a hard time with logical processes. We have a hard time breaking things down from step 0 to step 10. And so, um, to be able to break down what it is that you do in a logical sequence can be challenging. Though, when you are looking at the age that you're teaching and you're using like ChatGPT, for instance, or some other kind of AI, I go into this more in the school, where I help you understand how to use like Claude or Notebook LM to kind of break down maybe your notes or something like that to create a lesson plan. Regardless, you want to break it down so it's like easy wins. So like you teach one thing, like in my collage class, I teach you how to rip paper and cut paper. That's the first thing we learn. That's the first class. Then the next class, it's how to mark making, which is like doodling on paper, or using a marker on paper and making like abstract shapes, or writing in English or a made up language. That's the second class. Those two classes are two steps, but they go together and they build up on each other. It sounds super simple, right? But that's how simple it has to be. If you're an expert at what you do, you may have difficulty breaking it down to that simple of a level, because in your mind, you already know how to do this. So that doesn't seem impressive. That doesn't seem like, oh, well, it's so simple, anybody can do it. No, no. If that was the case, then they wouldn't be in your class and they wouldn't want to learn from you. So when you are breaking down your lesson plans, make it so easy to win that like the day of the class, the first lesson that you have is so easy that that your students come out with a win. That's what you want to do. That's how easy you want to make it. And then the next class stacks up, and the next class stacks up, and then you have this nice, a unit that to you seems simple because you're the expert. You know how this works, but other people don't. And that was the other thing that I mentioned earlier. It's like, you know how to walk. You're somebody you're able bodied, you know how to walk. But if you were to explain how to walk to somebody that doesn't know how to walk, or to a child, how would you do that? That might be challenging because there's so many steps that even you probably don't even know. But you could learn, how to break that down. And that's why I mentioned using AI a lot when it comes to lesson planning, because it can help you understand the logical processes of something that you may not understand how to do. Maybe because you're neurodivergent, maybe because you don't really know the nuances of what you do and simplifying it. I really use a lot of AI, and I mentioned that in the school community that there are AIs that I recommend in like the tools and apps section of the course, and in week one I share how to use it. This third one that goes off of that is demoing. And I mentioned demoing and teaching are two different things. Demoing is demonstrating what it is that you're doing or teaching without real input from the students. It's just like you're demonstrating. If you think about it like you go to like Costco or something and they're demonstrating to you like how they're cooking the food so you get the final product. But like on the directions of the package, it's telling you, it's teaching you how to cook the food. That's basically what you're doing. You're like the little Costco sampler person, and you're explaining, this is what this is, and this is the final product, and this is what it looks like, and this is how it goes together, and all that kind of stuff. I mentioned when you're demoing, that can take a lot of time away from teaching. If you have a 90-minute class, maybe it's going to take you an hour or something to demonstrate the full thing. So I mentioned coming in with already finished examples. For me, for instance, when I teach the collage classes and I have my kits, I already have like 3 or 4 collages that I'm going to use to teach from, and I already have them completed, and I know what I'm going to teach with them. So like I mentioned in my example, paper cutting or paper tearing. So I have one collage that talks about paper cutting and paper tearing. And then maybe for the next class, I'll have another collage. Maybe it's the same collage. I talk about mark making and so on and so forth. I also mentioned you don't have to have like 6 different collages, talk about 6 different aspects of your class. Obviously, it depends on what it is that you're teaching. You're a chef, so maybe you need different examples for different phases of what you're doing, so that the different processes make sense in different levels of what you're doing. So in that case, maybe you would need more examples. But the whole point would be to have these things done ahead of time so that you have it ready to show your students. That way, again, it shows your students an example of what step 0 to step 10 looks like without you having to do a lot of work in class. So that way, you can actually teach them how to get from step 0 to step 10, and you have that finished example ahead of time. And then the step 5 was being encouraging and being a guide. I mentioned that for a lot of people that are new to oh, is it not choose to share a tab? Um, can you explain to me? Is something not showing up? I'll let you kind of clarify that for me. I'm not sure what choose to share a tab only means, but if you can like kind of explain me what that means, I will. If that's something you want me to share, I can do that. Um, but encourage your students throughout the process, because as creatives, the creative process can look chaotic, it can look messy, it can look ratchet, it can look like messed up, and it can feel discouraging to be in the middle of that as a student who wants to learn something and not understand how to get from that messy ugliness to something that looks good. And so if you can, one way I like to do this, and that I think is a really good method that anybody can do, is just, go up to your students and be like, oh, this looks interesting. I really like what you're doing with this technique. Can you explain a little bit more? Or that's really nice that you decided to go that way. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? You're fostering collaboration and creative thinking, but also encouraging the messy creative process. And so I find this to be something that, kids and adults really gravitate towards. because they all come in with their own preconceived ideas of what they want to do. They have their own knowledge about what they want to do, and they also they a lot of them, especially with adults, they come in there, and high schoolers and middle schoolers too. They already feel some kind of way about themselves, so they're looking at what they're capable of doing with their current skills, and they're not thinking about what they could do if they felt encouraged, or if they just took time, and if they were patient. So in being encouraging and guiding your students, you're creating this environment and this atmosphere that allows them to fail and engage in the creative process in a way that is nurturing and supportive. Because a lot of the times, if a student feels like this is too hard, this is too difficult, this sucks, I can't do this, they won't come back. I've had students in collage classes or comic classes, like a couple, not even just one or two, like two or three. It's like I can't do this, and then they don't come back. Not because they wasn't facilitated in that way, but it wasn't, and that's a limitation, right? You may have a limitation in how encouraging you can be with certain students. You may, and that's a human thing. Like you can't, you're not perfect, but to just know that encouraging is more important than a perfect lesson plan. Because if you can encourage a kid or an adult to do something they've never done before, then you're gonna be remembered for, like, oh, this teacher taught me how to do something that I didn't know how to do. So that's like the biggest tip I can give when it comes to teaching workshops and you've never taught before. Be encouraging, be supportive, and foster a collaborative environment that encourages um, students taking part in the creative process, and understanding that it's going to look weird and messy before it looks good. Um, yeah, so those were the five tips to teach. And if you want to let me know if this was something that you wanted me to share a tab, or if this was like a comment that you had, I'm not quite sure, but please let me know, and I can kind of address it as needed. Uh, I'm like 90 minutes in. So if you have any other questions, I can answer anything else. I'll hop off in like 10 minutes or so. Um, and like I mentioned, this will be in the school community. The replay will be in the school community. And I will have this on YouTube. It'll be on LinkedIn, and it'll be on Facebook. But like the actual replay where I like make it look all nice and pretty will be on like the Cool Storytellers Collective YouTube channel. I just wanted to know if I could share anything else that I had. Oh, I guess I can share what this looks like too. Oh, did I already post a link for Affinity? Oh, I did. Okay. Yeah, this is the Affinity Studio that I mentioned. Oh, another tip I mentioned about the slideshows, that if you have an educator um, email address, like if you're a teacher, you can use Canva for free, the premium version, with your credentials. So I highly recommend that, because you have access to a lot more stuff in the premium version than in the free version. And when you want to make like your presentations or your flyers or whatever it is for your workshops, you can use that. So that's all I know for like educators and teachers, but I don't know for other industries. I don't know if they have that kind of thing. Okay. If there's any other questions, I will answer. I'm gonna hop off in like nine 9 minutes or so. Whoops. I think I left, I think, for a second there. Sorry about that. Whoops. Okay. Um, so if there isn't any other questions or anything of that nature, I did want to share that the school community that I have um, has like a trial for like 7 days. So you can come check it out, see if it's something that you like, see if it's for you. Um, and love to have you, whatever kind of creative you are. I really would love to see like 5 or so more people sign up for this school community. And we have all types like Roxana was in here, so it's like chefs, we have a cartoonist, there's a pastel artist, and they have, I believe, the other gal is like she makes hats and shoes. So we have all types of people in here. It's self-paced, it's asynchronous. You have my support in there, and you also have others that are in the community doing their own things as well. We go over I go over like outreach scripts on like Instagram, email, phone. I recommend certain AI templates, and I have templates as well, and how to use AI to make your lesson plans. I also talk about how to like use your Instagram as a portfolio, so you don't have to have a website. You can just use your Instagram and then like outreach to different organizations with your Instagram account. It's free. And then I also talk about like how to make a flyer when you get to that point, how to use a flyer, and how to pick the kind of workshop that you want to create. Whether you're new to this, again, like if you don't know what you want to teach, but you know how to do what you want to do, but you don't know exactly how to do it. I break that down in there as well. And like I mentioned, it's asynchronous. You can go at your own pace, and you have a 7 day free trial that you can test out and see if you like it. And I'm pretty sure I dropped the link in chat. Yeah, but also it's just called here. I'll even go. That's what it's called. Starving artists for artists on school. So yeah, that's what it's called. And if there's any other questions on the YouTube side of things, you can contact me through school or like the YouTube comments. I'll answer questions. If you're on LinkedIn, you can just DM me or leave a link comment in the video. If you're on Facebook, you can leave a comment in the comments or message me, and I'll get back to you there as well. And as always, I will be back this week to talk about more about this, um, how to like make workshops. I'll share a bit more about myself and talk about this cool community that I would love for you all to join. Okay. Well, um, thanks so much for being here. And I wanted to mention I have my Cash App in the description because you're always welcome to donate, to support, to fund the channel. Um, Anything that I'm doing, I'm always appreciative of those sort of things. And because I am not monetized on either of my YouTube channels, sending me messages through Cash App also make sure like you get like priority read when things get crazy in here and there's lots of people. Then it definitely makes sure that you are like priority messages and things like that. But that's all for now. Thank you very much for being here, Chef Roxy. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you. And if you have any other questions, um, connect with me in the school community. I'll be there. This replay will be there in the school community. Um, Probably just this live stream, and then I'll do an edited version for YouTube. But beyond that, thanks for being here, Chef Roxy. Appreciate you. Thank you. And anybody else that's watching after the replay, leave a heart so that I know you made it this far. And be sure to like, follow, and subscribe if you haven't done so to my channel. And thanks again. Really appreciate you guys. All right. Take care. Thank you.